because this problem is not solved. Fulfill the dream,
Gentleman's time has expired.
fulfill responsibility for the taxpayers, vote against this resolution.
Gentleman's time has expired. Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities towards the President. The gentlewoman from New York reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, a year or so ago, I received a rather urgent phone call from Dr. Shelley Hall from Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas and Dr. Rick Snyder from Medical City in Dallas, which are hospitals. And they spoke with me about a change in the law some year and some ago that would change infusion therapy. What is infusion therapy? It involves administering medication through a needle or a catheter, which is prescribed when a patient's condition is so severe that it cannot be treated effectively by oral medications, meaning through this needle or the opportunity for a catheter. And what happened was there was a change in the law that did not fully fund this effort. And home infusion means instead of having to receive this in the hospital, which is more expensive, they would be able to do this at home, and the doctor would manage that. As a result of the change in some law and funding levels, that stopped patients being able to do this at home. I want to congratulate Kevin Brady, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, for working not only with these doctors, but also with myself on this insistence that we go and review this, an opportunity for more effective health care and cost-effective from a perspective of not only the patient, but also to make sure that physicians would stay involved in the health of their patients' lives. And I would like to thank Dr. Shelley Hall of Baylor University Medical Center and Dr. Rick Snyder, both from Dallas, Texas, for working with me to make sure that this change happened today. This is one of the pages of the changes that we are making today to go in and offer some corrections and to update and extend the privileges that we have in this country to have the greatest health care system in the world. And I want to thank Chairman Brady for his work and his staff to make sure this was involved in this change today. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from Texas reserves. Gentlewoman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to yield 3 minutes to the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee.
The gentlewoman from Texas is recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentlelady. I associate myself, and I think it is important for my colleagues and the American people to know that this body, this government, this Congress is controlled by one party, the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Just a few minutes ago, the President of the United States called for a shutdown. I'm shocked. I'm not calling for anything but relief. I'm delighted that the gentleman from Dallas was able to craft a support system for infusion therapy, but it goes to show you who controls this place. I don't know what Democrat could get any additions to this particular CR. It's not an appropriation. It's not an authorization bill. I'm just on the floor begging for what my colleagues, both Republicans and Democrats from Texas, have been asking for, but my Republican House has not been able to produce it, or the Senate. And when I say that, we've not been able to produce a disaster supplemental bill that is going to respond to the needs of those who are still suffering. Harris County covers 1,778 square miles. It can fit New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, Chicago, Seattle, Austin, and Dallas, with room still to spare. 41,500 square miles of land mass impacted by Hurricane Harvey and the subsequent flooding that covered an area larger than the states of Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont combined. This is not puffery. It is to show you the depth of devastation. Hurricane Harvey dropped 21 trillion gallons of water on Texas and Louisiana, most of it on the Houston Metroplex, 51.88 inches of rain that fell near Cedar Bayou. And at the peak, on September 1st, 1/3 of Houston was underwater. Our headlines: Hurricane Harvey recovery goes ignored in Washington again. Republicans controlling every phase of government. After Harvey, Houstonians eye long road to recovery. After Harvey, Houstonians have long road, houses down on the ground. Long road to recovery, senior citizens suffering. suffering from health conditions, and you can see, here is the basic point. There is no reason why Republicans joining with Democrats cannot, one, have an $81 billion supplemental that goes up. It is not enough, but it is the administration that is cut into our very life by giving us a skinny disaster relief supplemental. I'm looking for the Senate to plus it up because this is not enough. And in this bill, if you want to know why we're voting no, it doesn't exist. Where is the disaster emergency supplemental money that is needed? I left my office with 6 members of local officials in my office. Congresswoman, they were telling me about the depression of so many in Texas who do not have the resources. They don't have the housing money. The infrastructure money has not come. Mold is there. They have bad health. And these are examples of their situation. This is what rescues look like. This is, of course, what the water looked like. And this gentleman who's
time has
walking
expired.
in the heavy water.
Let me yield the gentlelady 2 more minutes.
Gentlewoman is recognized for an additional 2 minutes.
This is a house that is evidenced by those impacted by the hurricane. This is a house of someone who's still waiting for that house to be rebuilt. Finally, the city council, wanting to be responsive, and I thank them, has lifted the permitting to allow trailers. Our people are begging now for trailers. Most people don't beg for trailers. We're begging for trailers in urban Houston because people have nowhere to live. This is a disgrace. I'm not making this personal, but we flooded on August 27th. It is now, today, February the 6th. There's no reason why this Republican administration has not been able to work, and to all these additional addendums on this CR should have been done in a bipartisan effort. We support infusion therapy. We support federally qualified health clinics, but you're taking money from prevention. We support CHIPS, but you're taking money from prevention and other things. This is not the way to do, one, spending. It is not the way to provide for national security. It's not the way to provide for the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of State, Department of Justice, law enforcement. We're not doing any of that. And then there are 140,000 dreamers in my state. Some of them are impacted by Hurricane Harvey. And let me make mention of the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Florida, California. I am not in any way diminishing their pain. They are likewise suffering. So if the American people want to know what the no's are about, the no's are about because those who are in charge are not doing anything. And by the way, dreamers were part of those who sought to rescue many who were stranded in Houston, and we lost a dreamer who traveled all the way from Dallas to provide a rescue help, and he died. He died. He died because he loved his country. He died because he loved his neighbors. And yet we cannot get that fixed, but we cannot help our neighbors get the dollars that they need. You want to know why a no vote?
Time has expired.
Because it is long overdue for our friends to do the real work that needs to be done.
Time has expired.
And do disaster supplemental funding and do it right.
Gentlewoman's time has expired. Gentlewoman from New York reserves. Gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I appreciate the gentlewoman's advocacy because in many respects I feel the same way, but I would offer in speaking to you, Mr. Speaker, that, Mr. Speaker, you made sure this House passed